Imagine you are running a busy local business. The phones are ringing, customers are waiting at the front desk, and then suddenly,
Let me guess. The dreaded pop-up.
exactly, the critical software that runs your entire operation throws a pop-up on the screen demanding a massive update.
Oh, man. And we are not talking about, like, a minor security patch here.
No, no. We're talking a core fundamental system upgrade. And you already know the standard options.
Yeah, you shut everything down.
Right. You put up a,
Okay.
sorry, we're closed for maintenance sign.
Yeah.
You lose hours of revenue, and you just sit there.
Staring at that little progress bar.
Yes. Staring at the bar, just praying the system actually boots back up when it hits 100%.
That anxiety is so palpable. I mean, watching that blue bar crawl across the screen, knowing your entire business is just hanging by a digital thread, it's a uniquely modern kind of stress.
It really is.
But the true cost isn't even just the lost revenue, It's the hidden costs.
Like what? The staff stress.
Yeah, the staff anxiety, the receptionist having to apologize to frustrated clients, and that chaotic paper trail that starts the second people have to revert to clipboards and pens.
Oh, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think for most local business owners, that stressful cross-your-fingers approach just feels like, well, a necessary evil of operating today.
It really doesn't have to be, though.
Exactly. And that is our mission for today's deep dive. We are exploring a much better way to handle these IT crises.
I am really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we are going to look at how Cowabunga Computers, which is a managed IT service provider, helps small businesses on Oahu avoid that devastating downtime entirely.
Right?
We're diving into a specific case study from their team detailing a really high-stakes software upgrade for a local veterinary clinic.
And, to really appreciate the elegance of the solution Cowabunga Computers implemented, we first have to understand the nightmare scenario this Oahu Animal Hospital was facing.
The stakes are just so much higher than a normal office.
Absolutely. The stakes go way beyond an office losing email for an afternoon.
Okay, let's unpack this. So this clinic relies on a practice management system called Avimark. And Avimark isn't just one tool for them, it's the entire toolbox.
It's the central nervous system.
Right. It handles patient records, scheduling, prescriptions, billing, inventory, everything. And the vendor's remote support team said they needed to perform a massive database migration and version upgrade.
Which is huge. Database upgrades of this scale are incredibly complex because you are fundamentally altering how the software stores and retrieves information.
It's kind of like trying to completely rewire a house without turning off the main breaker.
That is a great way to put it. You are pulling out old structures, writing millions of new cells of data, and trying to keep the current flowing.
And if something goes wrong?
If something goes wrong mid-process, say like a file gets corrupted during the transfer, the system isn't just glitchy, it is bricked.
Wow. Bricked.
Yeah, completely. You are left with a corrupted database that neither the old software nor the new software can read.
Okay, so to use another analogy, upgrading this live database for a busy animal hospital is basically like trying to change the tires on a car while it is actively driving down the H1 highway.
Exactly. Which raises an important question. Why not just pull the car over?
Right, why not just rush it on a lunch break or have the staff take an hour off?
Well, because in a veterinary clinic, the staff needs constant, uninterrupted access to patient histories.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if a dog comes in coding or a cat has an adverse reaction to a medication, the medical team needs to see that history instantly.
So losing access isn't just an inconvenience.
No, it halts medical care. It becomes an immediate safety issue for the animals.
That is heavy. So stopping the car wasn't an option, and obviously crossing their fingers wasn't a strategy. So Cowabunga Computers had to build a temporary bridge.
They had to architect an environment where the upgrade could happen safely, all while the staff kept operating as if nothing was happening.
And this brings us to their pre-upgrade strategy. They use a technology that has completely transformed local businesses, virtualization.
Yes. Virtual machines, or VMs.
So instead of having one physical computer running one operating system, the clinic server runs as a VM.
Right. And for those who might not be, systems administrators, think of a virtual machine as a software-based computer that lives inside a physical computer.
Like a computer inside a computer.
Exactly. 15 years ago, if you needed a server, you bought a giant, expensive metal box. It did one job. If the hardware failed,
You were just out of luck.
entirely out of luck. But virtualization separates the software from the physical hardware. You can have multiple virtual computers, completely isolated, running inside the same physical box.
So in this Oahu clinic's setup, they actually have two physical host servers in their IT closet.
Right. Host 1 and host 2.
Yeah, host 1 holds the primary Avimark virtual machine, the one doing all the daily work. And host T2 holds a standby replica of that exact same machine.
And knowing they have this primary machine and this replica, Cowabunga goes in with a really meticulous strategy before the vendor even touches the database.
So what's step 1?
The very first thing they do is lock down fresh manual backups on both host 1 and host 2.
Okay, wait. I noticed they emphasize the word manual in the case study.
Yes, that's critical.
But if a business already has automated daily backups running every night, why do the IT engineers need to go in and manually run another one just hours before the upgrade?
Well, automated backups are fantastic for day-to-day operations, for disaster recovery. But when you are about to perform major digital surgery on a core database...
You need to be absolutely sure.
Exactly. You cannot blindly trust a scheduled task that ran at 2 in the morning. A silent error could have occurred, or a file could be locked.
So they need human eyes on it.
Yes. The IT engineer needs to physically verify that the backup completed successfully, test the integrity of the data, and confirm it's uncorrupted.
It's like an anesthesiologist double-checking the vital signs right before the surgeon makes the first incision.
That is a perfect comparison.
So once the backups are safe, what stops a random system glitch from interrupting the upgrade? Because computers love to update themselves at the worst possible moments.
Oh, don't they just? That leads to the next crucial measure. Disabling automatic restarts and pausing all managed services schedules.
What exactly are managed services schedules?
They are automated scripts that IT providers use to keep systems healthy. Things like clearing temporary memory, running deep antivirus scans, or forcing a reboot to install Windows updates.
Oh, I see. So if one of those trips...
Total disaster. Imagine being 90% of the way through a delicate 3-hour migration, and a script decides it's time to restart the machine.
Ouch. Yeah, that would be bad.
So you have to freeze the environment completely so no automated actions can interfere.
Okay, so with the environment frozen, the challenge is moving the clinic staff over to the backup system without causing a disruption.
Great. The failover process.
Yeah, they fail over to the backup by literally powering up the replica virtual machine on host T2. They confirm the static IP address and test workstation access.
And just for context, a static IP address is basically a permanent digital address.
Right, so the front desk computers always know where to find the database.
Exactly, rather than hunting for an address that changes every time a machine turns on.
So now the staff is working entirely off the backup server.
And they don't even realize it.
That is so cool. It's exactly like having a highly trained stunt double T2 step in to film an action scene while the lead actor, Haste 1, goes to the trailer to get new makeup and wardrobe.
I love that stunt double analogy.
Right. The clinic staff, the audience, never notices the swap. They just keep scheduling appointments.
And that analogy perfectly illustrates the next move, which is isolating the primary server.
Taking the lead actor totally offline.
Exactly. With the clinic running on the replica, Cowabunga goes to host 1 and disconnects its network adapter. It is now living in a complete digital bubble.
No.
And inside that bubble, they create a checkpoint, which is a snapshot of the exact state of the virtual machine at that exact second.
So if the upgrade goes off the rails, they can just roll back to that checkpoint in minutes.
Yes, rather than spending hours restoring from a traditional hard drive backup.
Okay, but before the vendor starts the upgrade, there was one final protective measure that really caught my attention.
The replication link?
Yeah, they removed the replication link. They intentionally severed the synchronization between host 1 and host 2.
Which is fascinating, really.
Because usually having two servers constantly syncing is the ultimate safety net, right? Like a vet adds a record on server A, it copies to server B.
Right. In a normal environment, that constant sync is exactly what you want. It keeps your backup up to the second. But in an upgrade scenario,
it becomes dangerous.
It becomes your worst enemy.
Because if the vendor installs the new database code on host E1 and the new code is full of bugs, leaving them connected would be catastrophic.
Precisely. The newly upgraded, potentially unstable database would instantly reach out across the network and try to overwrite the perfectly functioning stunt double on host T2.
Oh, wow. It would act almost like a virus.
Exactly. It would actively corrupt the backup in real time, right while the veterinary staff was actively treating animals.
That is wild.
So by removing that replication link, Cowabunga severs the connection entirely. Host 1 is completely quarantined.
It really highlights the difference between simply owning IT tools
Yeah,
and actually knowing how to orchestrate them.
it really does.
So the clinic is on a stunt double, host one is quarantined, the vendor gets the green light to step in and perform the digital surgery.
And the vendor's support engineer connects remotely to that isolated virtual machine on host one.
Just transferring massive files directly to it, all inside that bubble.
Exactly.
The case study notes mentioned the actual migration was relatively smooth. There were like a few minor remote desktop hiccups where the connection lagged.
Sure, that happened.
But because host one was isolated, those little hiccups didn't ripple out to the local network. The clinic experienced zero lag.
And even after the vendor finished the heavy lifting, Cowabunga didn't just assume they were out of the woods.
Right, because a database can look fine on the surface, but have silent corruption deep down.
Absolutely. So they had to verify the settings and actively cross-reference recent patient entries with the clinic manager.
Checking live data from right before the quarantine.
Yeah, to ensure every single note, prescription, and billing code transferred perfectly.
And only after the vendor and the clinic manager explicitly signed off did Cowabunga bring it back online.
And this sequence is a meticulously choreographed dance.
I'll say, they had to power off the temporary HOS22 stunt double, carefully remove its network adapter, then power on the newly upgraded host one.
And then reconnect its adapter, confirm the static IP, restart the terminal servers, run test prints, and finally re-enable the backups.
Okay, here is where it gets really interesting for me. Let me play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
Why go through the trouble of physically or, well, virtually disconnecting these network adapters? Isn't just hitting shut down on HOS2 enough?
That speaks to the healthy paranoia that professional IT teams have to maintain.
Healthy paranoia, I like that.
It all comes down to avoiding a massive risk called an IP conflict.
Okay, explain that.
Well, every device on a network has an IP address, which functions just like a mailing address. The router uses these to route the flow of data.
Like a post office sorting mail to specific houses on the street.
Exactly like the post office. Now, in this failover setup, host T1 and host T2 are designed to use the exact same IP address.
So the front desk computers don't have to learn a new address.
Right. But if both systems accidentally wake up on the network at the exact same time, broadcasting the identical IP address, the network router essentially loses its mind.
Because it would be like two different houses on the same street claiming to be 123 Main Street. The postman wouldn't know where to drop the mail.
Exactly. The router doesn't know which machine should receive the database requests. Data packets start colliding.
That sounds messy.
It is. The internal maps the network uses to direct traffic become corrupted. It leads to a complete local network meltdown that can take hours to untangle.
Wow. So by disconnecting the adapter before shutting down, Cowabunga puts a physical barrier in place.
Yes. Even if host 2 accidentally powers back on due to a weird glitch, it has no adapter. It can't broadcast its address and cause a conflict. They leave absolutely nothing to chance.
That is brilliant. So they navigate the IP minefield, get the upgraded host one back online, and restart the terminal servers.
Which are the heavy-duty computers that do the processing for the lighter workstations at the front desk.
Right, so those stations pick up the new Avimark version. They run test prints. And adding to that healthy paranoia, Cowabunga didn't just close the ticket and leave.
No, they checked settings the next day and stayed on standby through the morning business hours.
Just in case any weird bugs surfaced when the full staff started hammering the system with appointments.
Fortunately, no issues surfaced. The upgrade was a complete success.
But that success is measured by what didn't happen, right?
Exactly. The true victory wasn't merely installing the new software. It was the completely invisible experience of the clinic staff.
The staff didn't have to come in at 4 in the morning to test systems. They didn't have to stay until midnight.
They didn't have to work around a broken interface.
They just used Avimark normally the entire time. And, this brings up a crucial point about the local business landscape.
What's that?
Terms like virtualization, failover setups, high availability clusters, they sound like concepts for a massive Fortune 500 corporation.
They sound expensive.
Yeah, out of reach for a local shop. But virtualization and proper failover setups aren't just for massive corporations anymore.
Not at all. The technology has evolved. This level of enterprise-grade IT architecture is entirely accessible to small and medium-sized businesses.
And beyond being accessible, it's increasingly necessary. I mean, this veterinary clinic is proof you don't need an endless corporate budget to have a resilient infrastructure.
It represents a massive shift in how businesses need to think about their technology.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Even if you aren't managing veterinary software, if your small business relies on a local server, you are vulnerable without this kind of setup.
Whether it's an accounting firm in downtown Honolulu, a retail shop out in Kapolei, or a real estate office in Kailua.
Right. If you just have a server sitting in a closet running your day-to-day software, you are one bad update away from total operational paralysis.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights the profound shift from reactive IT to resilient IT.
Reactive being fixing things when they break.
Yes, it's a passive stance that accepts downtime as an inevitability. But resilient IT, like what we see with Cowabunga here, is actively designing systems assuming they will break.
And engineering a safety net that absorbs the failure.
You wouldn't run a retail store without a backup generator if you lived in an area prone to power outages.
Oh, totally. Running local business servers without a virtualization failover plan is basically operating without that generator.
And geographic isolation plays a huge role here too, especially for Hawaii businesses.
Right, the supply chain challenges.
Yeah. If a physical server dies and you need a specialized motherboard, you can't always get it shipped overnight to Oahu, you might be waiting days.
And if your business is down while waiting for a FedEx plane from the mainland, the financial losses are devastating.
Exactly. Having a virtual stunt double sitting right there in your server rack mitigates that geographical risk entirely.
Cowabunga Computers is providing that enterprise-level safety net, tailored specifically for local Hawaiian shops.
And what makes it so actionable is that Cowabunga isn't some faceless remote tech giant.
Right, they are a local Oahu business themselves. They're right in Honolulu at 1953 South Beretania Street, Suite 3rd.
Dealing with critical infrastructure requires trust. Having a partner in your time zone who understands the local landscape and can physically drive to your location in an emergency is massive.
Yeah, so if you are listening and realizing your server setup might be a little fragile, you can reach out to them locally. Their number is 808-468-4416, or just go to smartcows.com/contact.
So, to synthesize the core lessons here, zero downtime is never an accident.
No, it's not magic.
It's the direct result of a strict failover first, upgrade second mentality. Meticulous planning, virtual architecture, and building a temporary bridge before touching the core system.
It requires an IT team that engineers a system capable of absorbing failures without the end user ever knowing. Which brings us back to that terrifying progress bar from the beginning.
Hopefully a little less terrifying now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The next time your software demands an upgrade, you shouldn't have to feel like you are rewiring your house in the dark.
Definitely not.
So we want to leave you with a final, lingering question to ponder about your own business resilience. If your main server completely died right this second, how many minutes or days would it take before your stunt double could take over?
And more importantly, do you even have a stunt double?
A vital question for any modern business owner. And that is all we have for today's deep dive.
It's been great.
We hope this exploration into zero downtime IT has been illuminating. As always, we are here to be your guides, sifting through the noise to keep you well informed without the information overload. Until next time.